Picture yourself retired, sipping an ice-cold beer, gazing at one of the most beautiful beaches in Asia, surrounded by gorgeous women, and paying next to nothing each month. There are retired foreigners out there, the kind you could barely make ends meet, back in the United States, who moved to a city in Southeast Asia and rented a beachfront apartment for $200. $200. You heard that right. While you're here racking your brain trying to pay off your credit card, that ugly old guy walking around in flip-flops with his belly hanging out, grinning from ear to ear like he just won the lottery. And you know what's worse? He's not special, He's not rich. He doesn't have anything you don't have. He just found a place that most people don't even know exists yet. Today I'm going to show you this place. With facts, with history, with beaches, and everything you need to know. And at the end, you tell me, what the hell am I waiting for? Who the hell is Dang? Look, first of all, let's put this thing on the map, because most people hear Vietnam and only think of Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi, and that's wrong. Da Nang is located right in the geographic center of the country. It's like Vietnam was folded in half and made an X right there. On one side, the mountains. On the other side, the East Sea, which we know as the South China Sea. Beach and mountains all on the same postcard at the same time. The city currently has 1,270,000 inhabitants and is growing at 2.6% per year, which is double the national average for Vietnam. It's the fifth largest city in the country, but in recent years it's become the darling of foreigners who want to live in Southeast Asia without paying the prices of Bangkok, Bali, or any European capital. And look, that's not just my opinion, okay? In 2019, the New York Times called Da Nang the Miami of Vietnam. In 2024, West's News World Report ranked it among the top 4 best cities in Asia to retire. And the UN gave the city a Human Development Index of 0.800, classified as very high. And in 2017, guess who came to meet in Da Nang? Trump, Putin, Xi Jinping, the leaders of the APEC Summit, the group of the largest economies in the Asia-Pacific. All this in a city that half a century ago was literally a military base destroyed by war. Speaking of which, from war to paradise. Okay, let me tell you the story of Da Nang because it's so unbelievable it sounds like a movie script. More than 1,000 years ago, this region was the spiritual heart of the Kingdom of Champa, a powerful Hindu civilization that ruled central Vietnam. The ruins of this people, called the Mai Son Sanctuary, are 70 kilometers from the city and are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We're talking about red brick temples that are over 1,000 years old and are still standing. Just so you get an idea, when these temples were built, Brazil didn't even exist as a concept yet. Then the French came. In 1858, Da Nang, which the French called Tehran, was the first point of colonial invasion by France in Vietnam. That was where an occupation began that lasted almost 100 years and changed everything: the architecture, the religion, even the bread that Vietnam still eats today. Yes, the famous Vietnamese baguette is a French legacy. Colonialism left behind trauma and bread. Usually it's just the trauma that remains, but here's the part most people don't know. In March of 1965, Da Nang was the place where the first official American combat troops set foot in Vietnam. That scene of Marines landing on the beach, broadcast live on American TV, happened right here. The city became one of the largest U.S. air bases in all of Southeast Asia. Tens of thousands of soldiers passed through here. And in 1975, in less than 2 days, the city fell to the Northern forces. The collapse happened so fast that soldiers and civilians fought over boats and helicopters to escape. Scenes of pure desperation. End of the war, the city was destroyed. The economy was wiped out. Seems like the end of the story, right? But this is exactly where it gets interesting. 50 years later, the same city has a GDP of $5.1 billion, tech parks growing at a rapid pace, the third largest international airport in Vietnam, and a coastline filled with luxury resorts that welcome tourists from all over the world. Imagine your city being bombed in the 1970s and years later competing with Dubai in quality of life. That's basically it. Now, how much does it cost to live in this place? It's almost too cheap to be true. This is where people's minds are blown. A furnished one-bedroom apartment in Da Nang, in a good location, less than 10 minutes from the beach, goes for between $200 and $400 a month. Most of the time, that includes a TV, bed, sofa, fridge, and even access to the building's laundry room. For comparison, the equivalent in Sao Paulo costs between 2,500 and 4,000 reais per month. In Lisbon, Portugal, it's over 1,200 euros. In Madrid, it's the same story. A full meal at a local Vietnamese restaurant runs between $1.50 and $3. A seafood feast for two, oysters, shrimp, grilled squid, costs about $15. Here in Brazil, that same feast costs 6 or 7 times more. Now, here's the question nobody asks in all the excitement. If it's this cheap, who's really footing the bill that you don't see? The average local salary in Da Nang is around $320 a month. In other words, a Brazilian, Portuguese, or American who works remotely and gets paid in a strong currency lives like the local upper class, spending less than $800 a month. There's a neighborhood called Euro Village, built from scratch over the last 30 years, where European-style villas rent for $2,000 a month. If that's not expensive, that same property in Lisbon would cost twice as much. In Paris, 3 times as much, and there's a detail that really shows the local standard of living. A Toyota Camry in Da Nang already puts you in the upper middle class. A car that in many countries is just a common sight in mall parking lots is a status symbol there. Studies of digital nomad communities show that you can live well in Da Nang on $600 to $1,000 a month. That's less than in Bali, less than in Bangkok, less than in any European city, you know? But then you might ask me, okay, but is there something wrong with all this? Because it sounds like an ad. Isn't that right? Maybe. But first, there's a number that's gonna blow your mind. The safest city. For those who don't know, Numbeo is the largest quality of life database on the planet. More than 500,000 people rate the cities where they live and visit. It's the kind of data you can't manipulate because it comes from real experiences, from real people. Da Nang's crime index? 23.76, rated as very low. The safety index? 76.24. Feeling of safety walking alone during the day? 91 out of 100. At night, 72 points. Risk of being mugged or robbed? 14.19. Very low. Now compare. Sao Paulo has a crime index of 64. Rio de Janeiro, 73. Da Nang is 3 times safer than Sao Paulo, according to the numbers. That's based on statistics. And it doesn't stop there. The 2023 Gallup Law and Order Index ranked Vietnam Asia's most peaceful country, and the 7th safest in the entire world. 7th in the world. Ahead of Scandinavian countries. Ahead of countries we've always imagined as a paradise of safety. Lonely Planet ranked Da Nang among the best destinations in Southeast Asia for solo travelers, including women traveling alone, you know? Because there, that's the reality, not the exception. But to understand why the city is so safe, you need to understand how these people think. And that's when things get interesting. In Vietnam, there's an unwritten rule that no one tells you about in the tourist guides. Tan skin is something for people who work in the fields. Literally. The ideal of Vietnamese beauty is skin. Fair skin, the opposite of what we find attractive here. The result? In the middle of summer, with temperatures at 95 degrees, you see women at the beach slathering on sunscreen, others on the street wearing gloves, jackets, hoods, and masks, protecting every inch of skin from the sun. While European tourists walk around in shorts looking to get a tan, Vietnamese women go fully covered, doing exactly the opposite. A real-time culture shock. Another thing that'll surprise you? Vietnamese coffee. Vietnam is the 2nd largest coffee exporter in the world, only behind Brazil. And they drink coffee in a way that will change your standards forever, slowly filtered through a metal filter, dripping straight into a glass with condensed milk at the bottom, served hot or over ice. It's twice as strong as espresso. 1 cup of this and you'll be in turbo mode all day and still have energy left for the night. And you know that French baguette that's become an icon all over the world? Banh mi, the most famous street sandwich in Vietnam, is a direct legacy of French colonization in the 19th century. The colonizers arrived with the baguette, and the Vietnamese took the recipe and filled it with pâté, grilled meat, pickled carrots, cilantro, and chili. And they created one of the tastiest street foods on the planet. Colonialism leaves trauma, and sometimes, unintentionally, it leaves behind a good recipe too. And there's one last fun fact that really sums up the spirit of this place. In Da Nang, there's a 67-meter-tall Buddha statue visible from anywhere along the city's coast, sculpted entirely by local artisans using marble from the region. It's the largest Buddha in Vietnam, and admission is free. You go up and you get a breathtaking view of the city, the sea, and the mountains all at once, and you don't pay a cent. This can't be real. Da Nang has a nickname. They call it the City of Bridges, and for good reason. But there are 2 bridges that deserve their own chapter, because honestly, if you didn't know they were real, you'd think they were scenes from a video game. The Dragon Bridge. It's 666 meters long. Yeah, 666. The number your prayerful grandma would think is a sign to the end times, and it's 37.5 meters wide, with 6 traffic lanes. The project cost almost $88 million and was designed by 2 American companies, and it was inaugurated on the 30th anniversary of denying's liberation from American forces. The historical irony is so thick it doesn't even need a comment. The entire bridge is shaped like a golden dragon crossing the Han River. The body curves toward the sea, symbolizing the city's openness to the world. The tail is shaped like a lotus flower, a symbol of peace. 15,000 LEDs cover the whole structure and change color at night. And every weekend at 9 p.m., this happens. The bridge closes to traffic. Crowds gather along the riverbanks, and the dragon wakes up. The dragon's head on the east end breathes fire for 2 minutes. Then water jets spray for 3 minutes. Anyone standing near the head on the riverbank gets wet. That's part of the show. It's like a movie scene, free every weekend. But the Dragon Bridge is easy. It's the other one that'll blow your mind. The Golden Bridge. It doesn't cross a river, it crosses a mountain. It's perched at 1,400 meters above sea level in the Trongsan Mountains, 25 kilometers from the city. It's 150 meters long and is supported by 2 enormous pairs of hands that rise out of the mountain rock, built from fiberglass and wire mesh to look like ancient stone. Since it opened in June 2018, it went viral on the internet within weeks. And today, it's considered one of the most photographed architectural landmarks in all of Asia. And to get there, you don't take a road, you don't take a taxi. You take a 5-kilometer cable car, which CNN ranked as one of the 10 most impressive cable car systems in the world, with the greatest altitude difference on the planet for a structure of this kind. Most of the year, mountain mist covers the bridge, creating an effect of a walkway floating in the clouds that looks like computer graphics, but it's actually the real scenery. 2 bridges so unbelievable that if you show a photo to a friend without explaining, they'll think it's a video game render. But it's Da Nang. And now comes something that most videos about this city don't mention. The Sacred Triangle. You know when you're in a city and there are great things to see within a 100-kilometer radius? That's awesome. Da Nang has 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites within that radius, all at the same time. One is 40 minutes away, another is an hour and a half away, and the ancient ruins are 70 kilometers away. There's nowhere else on the planet like this. Not in the same way. The first is Hoi An, just a 40-minute drive away, a city founded in the 16th century that seems untouched by time. Stone streets, golden buildings, lanterns shining on the river at night. It's so well preserved that it's featured in travel guides as the place that looks most like a painting come to life. And there's a detail that draws tourists from all over the world there, the tailors. In Hoi An, you walk into a tailor shop with an idea, pick out the fabric, they take your measurements. And in 24 hours, you walk out with a handmade, custom-tailored outfit, suits, dresses, blazers, for a fraction of what it would cost in any European city. You walk in with an Instagram photo of an outfit you thought you'd never actually own, and walk out with an identical handmade version in 24 hours for just $30. There's nothing like this anywhere else in the world. A Japanese covered bridge built in the 17th century is so culturally important that it's printed on the 20,000 dong Vietnamese bill, which is worth about 1 cent in Brazilian reals. But the national symbol on a 1-cent bill carries a huge weight. The second is Hue, an hour and a half away by road. It was the imperial capital of Vietnam from 1802 to 1945. Home to the country's last emperors, the Nguyen dynasty. The citadel is a stone fortress with a moat, towers, and palaces that have even been compared to Beijing's Forbidden City. At night, the Perfume River, yes, that's its name, that's the river's official name, fills up with lanterns, live music, and sightseeing boats. But the road between Da Nang and Hue is already an attraction in itself. The Hai Van Pass is a 21-kilometer coastal road carved into the cliffs right by the ocean. Top Gear named it one of the most beautiful roads in the world to drive on. Along the way, you pass abandoned World War II military outposts, little cafes perched on the hillsides with views of the open sea, and the Vietnamese reunification train crossing a narrow bridge over the ocean. It's a scene that looks like it's straight out of a movie. And the ruins of My Son complete the triangle. Hindu temples from the kingdom of Champa, hidden for over 1,000 years in a valley surrounded by mountains. A UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1999. You live in a city, but you have access to 1,000 years of history within a 2-hour motorbike ride. There's nowhere else in the world quite like this. But not everything's perfect, you know? And you need to hear the other side. The reality of living here. I know it sounds like an ad so far, so I'm going to tell you what I sometimes find bad, because there are downsides and you deserve to know. The heat. Da Nang doesn't have central air conditioning in most apartments. In the summer, the heat is the kind that makes you rethink your life choices. An American who left Texas to live here sums it up like this: in Texas, we crank up the central air conditioning as much as we can. Here, I had to learn to deal with the heat. In other words, you trade American comfort for the beach just 300 meters from your house. Everyone makes their own choice, right? The rain. The rainy season goes from September to December. Torrential, short, and violent rains, sometimes typhoons. Sometimes the beaches are closed for days. It's not the tropical, sunny Vietnam you see on Instagram during these months. Traffic, motorbikes, 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 and more motorbikes. Crossing the street in Da Nang is a spiritual exercise. You cross slowly, with faith, and trust that the motorbikes will swerve around you. And they do. But your heart still races just the same. The language. English is taught in schools now, but the adult generation speaks very little. If you don't learn at least the basics of Vietnamese, a lot of things become difficult. Doctor visits, notary offices, contract negotiations. The visa. There's no digital nomad visa in effect, like in Portugal or Thailand. Most foreigners live in the visa run cycle. You have to leave the country every 3 months to renew. It costs between $100 and $150 each time you leave. It's a hassle, but that's the current system. The water. You can't drink tap water. Everyone buys water jugs. It's a cultural thing, but it's a detail that weighs on your daily life. Growth. The city is growing so fast that new buildings and resorts pop up in just a few months. The peaceful coastline you see today could turn into a construction site tomorrow. No place is perfect, but Da Nang has way more pros than cons. And the numbers don't lie. Da Nang is the kind of place that seems too good to be true. A modern city in the geographic center of a country that survived French colonization, the American War, and rebuilding from scratch, and came out the other side as one of the most livable, safest, and cheapest cities in Asia. You can get an apartment with an ocean view for $200. There's a dragon that's dozens and dozens of meters long that breathes fire every weekend. There's a suspension bridge in the clouds held up by giant stone hands, 1,400 meters above sea level. There are 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites within a 100-kilometer radius. And it has a crime rate that would make any European capital jealous. It's got heat, rain, motorbike traffic, and visa bureaucracy. But there's no violence. There aren't outrageous costs, and you don't have that constant feeling that you need to look over your shoulder when you leave the house. An American left Texas, where he paid $1,800 in rent, moved to Da Nang, rented an apartment on the beach for $200, and started eating lobster on the weekends. And he says he's not coming back. Now tell me in the comments, could you drop everything and move to Da Nang? Or at the first power outage without air conditioning, would you already be looking up tickets to come back? Leave a comment. Would you take on this adventure in Da Nang? And send this video to that friend who's always complaining that everything's expensive. Let them check out the video and take a good look at the $200 apartment. Thanks everyone, and see you next time.